July the 1st, 2025, we got a Commissioners Court special meeting. There's a few items on the agenda that do require action. Others on here probably has some pretty good consideration of discussion. The first things first, I've got a sign-in sheet. So if y'all don't mind, even though I know majority of everybody here, do like to get your name, your phone number, and your email address and what company you're with. And excuse the size of that sign-in sheet, but hey, that's one of those sheets of paper that we get, pretty good business. And that's all I got. Okay. If you don't mind, if you would do that, please, just at your convenience, sign it. All right, let's call this meeting to order. It's about 10 o'clock, July the 1st. And we do have a special agenda, and let the record show that all commissioners are here this morning. And if y'all don't know him, it's Commissioner Karbowski, Commissioner Arthur, Commissioner Meyer, Commissioner Caloric. Okay, first item on the agenda from our county attorney, and it's consider and approve amended resolution regarding a lease purchase agreement. The purpose of procuring a medium duty truck for road and bridge number 2. Matthew or Catherine, want to run us through the weeds on this one?
Yes, this item may look familiar to you all. It's been on the agenda all the time previously, but it unfortunately has taken a little bit to get all of it in order. There should be no back. This is in front of you. That's for a stock or discharge precinct, and in order to get all of the right language in an agreement for purchase of this vehicle, we have to go back. So I would recommend that this get approved today.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Got a motion for Bruce,
Second.
second for David. All right, since we pretty much talked the ears off of this one, just in case, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, call for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Likewise, nays. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Number 2, from Commissioner Clark, consider and approve contract for the emergency repair of the dam or bridge, County Road 6494, with U.S. Fusion Specialty Construction for an approximate amount of $73,610. Gerald, you want to explain what you got?
I'll kick it off. I've got a number of folks here today. They're going to explain kind of where we are, how we got here, and what we're proposing to do. So I'm going to introduce Brian Greathouse. He's got a team of folks behind him as well to kick off this discussion. Then we'll hear from the contractor, PhD with U.S. Fusions.
Brian, if you don't mind using the microphone.
You can take it off of there if you want. It slips out. There you go.
Yeah, you can do the Ed Sullivan version.
Be on.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, to give you a little background on support of this amendment. A lot of you guys have a history with this, so I'll try to keep it brief. And we do have a lot of people here who have history with it too. So as I go through this Cliff Notes version, I'll leave some critical out, let me know. So a few months ago, TxDOT comes and places this bridge on their critical findings. So what that means is they'll come and inspect the bridge and determine if they can keep the bridge open. So we met with TxDOT on site, Mr. Ford and our team with TxDOT to evaluate the structure. At that point, the critical findings that TxDOT determines, we had a massive pier washout on the downstream side of that bridge. We have 15 feet of pier exposed. We had undermining in the approach section of the pier. And we also had a massive scour hole on the upstream side of the pier. So that in itself looked pretty bad. We were worried, but not as concerned. So we met with TxDOT. TxDOT agreed that they would keep the bridge open and give us 30 days to put a plan together to address the bridge concerns. So that's when we had our team of experts, a lot of them see here in this room, come to the bridge and really do a detailed dive. We had surveyors in the water, we had our best structural guys, we had our H&H guys looking at it from a hydraulic perspective. And what we found was very concerning. what we need, the major problem being the pile, which is a concern, it's the dam and the spillway, which is getting undermined across the entire spillway. So basically, the bridge was constructed, after the bridge construction, somebody, they came back in and built a dam and a spillway on the upstream side of that structure. And built about 30 foot ahead of. So now the water is going underneath that structure and it's scouring away at these spheres. So that was another big problem. So to address TxDOT's initial concern, we were not comfortable with keeping that bridge open if we could not find how deep those bridge piles were. Right, so that's why we came to court last time and asked for this test. And I'll tell you that's probably the best money you ever spent. It was $8,000 to $10,000 test that basically showed us that we had about 10 foot of pile depth remaining, which gave us some level of comfort. Now, I do want to say this about a pier being exposed. I don't want to get too technical. When that exposed pier has been there for 15 feet, exposed to the atmosphere, it loses a lot of strength and loading. That strength and loading can never be recovered. So that in itself is very concerning. It's something that we have to address. So we got with TxDOT, we put together a plan to address their initial concerns, which is the pier and the scour hole on the upstream side. So we got a plan that TxDOT agrees to address that, and Commissioner Caloric starting to implement that plan tomorrow. Now, the beach of the problem is that water coming in from the upstream side on that spillway. And we were thinking, how can you possibly stop that water from coming? The only thing we could think about at the time was sheet pile, and I think Commissioner Arthur started mentioning that repair is going to be as much as the bridge, and the bridge is going to be as much as the road. And we told you at that point, you know, I can't really argue with you at that point. So we started doing more investigation. Manuel had been working with US Fusion for a while. He brought them to the table with a solution possibly to cut that flow off from the water getting underneath the structure. And at this point, I'll bring up US Fusion if you want to get some more details. And it's a very, and just before we come up to, we did a pretty deep dive on the references as we were asked if we haven't used them before. And they got very positive references, some very reputable contractors. So, you know, with that, I don't know if
Thanks very much, Ryan. Appreciate you.
Say your name.
Gabriel Pena with US Fusion. I have a PowerPoint or just a presentation here as well as just print off it. Getting those out. Sure. Go ahead. Excuse me.
While he's passing those out, I will also mention that,
Yes, sir.
I took office on January 23rd, you know, January 30th, I saw this bridge for the first time. I've never seen it in my life, lived in the state area, and now I've been out there 25 times. In a 5-month period.
Right.
And about that time, AJ, became the emergency management coordinator, and between the two of us, he helped generate a lot of other interest from folks. It's working with Emmanuel. We've had TCEQ. We were involving TxDOT. We've had inspections from all sorts of folks. And on the day I was reaching out to TxDOT, they called and said, "Oh, we inspected that bridge yesterday, and you know we found a critical finding." So somewhat ironic that that's how it all came to pass. But I want to say, you guys have heard about this since at least 2013. I think is the first documents that I can find in the file. And so it's kind of one of those things that bad news never gets any better with age. And so the problems have been exacerbated over time and the amount of water flow. And that's where we are here today. And so I think Gabe is just about ready to get.
Appreciate your patience. So this will be brief. It's roughly about 10 slides. A couple of them are just okay, it should not be, can we just use the PowerPoint presentation? Specifically for a lot of, there we go. Perfect. Okay, so I'll get right into it real quick. US Fusion. We are headquartered out of Baton Rouge, but I run the McCord Houston office here in Texas, for the sale of operations. I've been to the site several times now with my construction manager, Nate Turner, and Manuel here. So We're very familiar with the site, very familiar with the issues that it's facing, scouring, that's what we're gonna kind of get, right? So, we're ESOP company, what we'll talk about here, that means before you know, but what we're gonna talk about here is the Protex, that is our trademark and proprietary fabric form concrete solution to this issue that we're gonna face on the bridge. So it is an erosion control system. And what it is a pumpable grout mat. So if we go to the next slide, we start to see some of these examples that we work with. So these are just different types of that fabric form concrete, which we call Protex. The first one is an articulating block, which you see there is it allows to what we would be using on this project to accommodate rate scouring or changes in the subgrade. It would actually flex there, as you see from those wires running through. Also come with a filter point or a uniform section, filter point would allow water to pass through. Uniform is just very eliminate, right? It's gonna be the same thing as throughout and lay it out, but articulating block is what we use this application here. Next slide, please. So just to show some of the places that this does work very well again, I think that it's certainly that this will be an excellent solution for this issue we're facing. Riverways, ports and harbors, that was actually some of the references we got. We did one of the largest port expansions with the McCarthy Construction Company for the port of Freeport and then for the expansion. So bridges, locks, dams, those in mind. It's a great product because it can be installed in wet or dry conditions, which is not common of most of the alternative technologies here. Next slide, it'll just show a little bit more as far as some of these applications. It's a good visual of it. Again, really good for any sort of culvert application. We can, a fully customizable system. So we'll have it, proprietary single manufacturers that we work with and have those relationships. So what they'll do is come up with the design, send it over to them, the drawings, get those approved, and they will actually manufacture it and customize it before sending it out to us in the field where we would install it. Of course, if we run into any issues in the field that maybe something isn't matching up, we also have the capabilities to do any sort of field fabrication and selling to make those changes. So we're not working with those issues there. Next slide, please. So this is the road. So we took some pictures here so we can get a look. The top left, you'll actually see the sour hole that is causing a lot of the real issues here at the top of the dam. So and then you'll see the pier in the middle, top, and then you'll just see the results in the middle at the bottom from that scouring where it's completely knocked off those barriers there, those piles aside. So top right, bottom right is actually kind of just an aerial view of where we would be installing this. So the top one is initially what we were looking at, and it was just to plug the scouring hole. After that, we found that there could be, with the waterway coming above it, we wanted to make sure this was going to be more of a permanent solution than just band-aid and a temporary fix. So we proposed carrying that across the upper part of the dam there, as you see, to the other end of the waterway. So what that would do is provide an impermeable layer of concrete to keep the water from passing through there and causing further erosion control problems. So this is, I don't know how much life you're trying to get out of this, but it is a very permanent solution. So
In discussions with TxDOT, going to have to get on their 5-year plan. And so the first opportunity for funding for a bridge replacement, we're looking at the year 2030. So you can see how all this is kind of playing out.
And if it's just to add to that, if it was just cutting off the water without any of the pier concerns,
Right.
probably wouldn't be a problem.
Right, exactly, yes.
But the fact that we have the pier stress issue is why we're just trying to get you to that
Yeah.
5-year mark so textile places.
So this
Thank you.
repair will last, or
Yeah.
for the next 5 years.
Oh, yeah. So I mean, this air repair is meant to be permanent. And so, but they'll cut the water off for us, but the stress that those piers have already undergone,
Thank you for clarifying. That's very true. So if we were to do this and that issue is not resolved, we would still see some issues down the road. So.
And just to also point out the middle top picture, you can see the spall on the approach to the bridge, and that's why we really had to shut down and I get a one-lane bridge now. And so that requires a lot of our time going out there, making sure that the barricades are up. I've had a lot of vandalism. I've talked to the sheriff. It seems to have gotten better in the last week or so, but it's a pretty remote area and a lot of things happening.
Yeah, we've seen it, like I said, several times and over probably a year now, and it has, so there's been substantial erosion since that time. The water levels are growing and it's only gonna get worse if we don't start attention as soon. So, next slide, please. This is just a very basic kind of outline cross section, a typical channel or ditch there that we would line. So you see the anchor trenches at the top. We're worried about this, very small crews that can come out. No need for really heavy lifting equipment or anything like that. It comes out in a mesh net, we roll it out. If our anchor trench all goes in there, then you start pumping grout from up to 300 feet away with our cement. This is just typical looking outline of that, so not scale obviously, but we would use the same method.
Have y'all found a nearby grout supplier yet?
We are still looking at that. Now that won't change, that's not gonna change where we go with the price, because the estimator has got someone within a radius. Now, you suggested maybe some more that.
Okay. Your proposal does take exception to if the grout costs more than $200 a square yard or whatever, that it could go up. That's not the concern, because, you know, I'm asking the court to approve this amount.
Yes,
So I'm trying to stay at that amount.
understood. We will, that's definitely something we could look into again before we get to any sort of purchase or any scores.
Okay.
And address that, make sure we agree on, you know, this supplier will be able to meet those demands and achieve that price for us. Next one, please. Right now, we're just gonna kind of show you some examples, good pictures to give y'all some visuals here, how this is going to look, and how it's laid out. So again, perfect identification rate, so we need lots of dams. Next slide, you'll see some more probably sample projects that we're getting into. This is one of the ones we did in Louisiana, bridge replacement. As you see, these are the different stages of it, so very easy to maneuver. We were able to run it there, just that, and then you see the hose that goes to and just start pumping the ground into there, and you're left with this very nice aesthetic solution here, all right. Next one, you have the one of the more recent one was the city of Lakeville. With the projects, we have this in our articulating block, we'll see here laid out, and great because it can really get into those tight, very hard to reach places that they like a rip wrap or technology is going to need to get to. So next slide. And that was the in there. I would like to give a bit of question on that.
Unless someone else has a question.
And maybe we can have a little bit of a history lesson on this bridge itself. This was a part of Winter Valley. Okay, and which was, would this have been considered a private road way back in the day, or?
I'm not sure about way back in the day, but
Yeah.
Taunton County Road.
Yeah. So is a bridge that was constructed by the original developers from Winter Valley.
That can understand.
So we inherited the bridge.
That's correct.
Thank you.
But it is a private road. I mean, it is a county road.
It is.
Yeah.
So we've accepted the bridge and everything when we accepted the county road. Is that right?
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve. I'm gonna ask one question.
Okay.
The price you got here, is that pretty firm, you know, I mean, we're not, you know, I understand it could be a variance around, but.
Sure, but no, it's fairly firm. We've been doing this for a very long time, so we've got our pricing down. Pretty down pat, so very, very little margin there.
Yeah, you don't know how long it will take you to do it after.
This is less, it's gonna be less than a week once we get started.
Wow.
But there's a 2, 3, up to 6 week lead time to get this
Of course, yeah.
fabricated. That's why,
We're trying to move.
you know, we're doing this on the emergency basis because of the tech dots granting us the time to keep the thing open until we can correct the situation.
I've been hearing about this bridge problems for a long time, before I was ever, but,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I second the motion. That's something that's.
Okay, got a motion from Bruce. Second from Greg. Any further discussion? I think after about 8 years, I believe we pretty much discussed this for a while. All right, hearing none, call for vote. All in favor, say aye. Likewise, next. Then motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Number 3 from Mr. Poston, consider and approve an order exempting from competitive bidding the purchase of services provided by US Fusion to inject concrete into the foundations of the bridge or dam on County Road 6494 in the Winter Valley subdivision. It's probably the step that we need to do in this process.
Make a motion to approve. I can believe this is an emergency.
Motion from Bruce, second from David. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for vote. All in favor, say aye. Likewise, nays. Motion carries. Thank you. Number 4, consider and approve Sterling Traditions 2-part variance request for section 1 as follows. A 50-foot radius on a cul-de-sac, a minimum front building line of 20 feet for lots fronting along cul-de-sac and knuckles. LJ Engineering letter of no objection to the requested variance attached to the packet along the letter of variance request. Okay, Melinda? She's not here. Okay.
Well, we got LJA,
Oh, Jesse, come on.
Okay.
got LJA here, they're here to present some stuff.
Which LJA? The LJA from Houston or our LJA?
This from Houston, but the other guys are here as well.
Y'all come on up and use the microphone, please.
Hey, Judge, I would like to introduce Jeff Cannon with LJA that we utilize their services so that he can explain the differences between the two, between the development company and
Maybe get kind of order on some of the agenda items, so let me know. While it's got history. One of the things I wanted to talk about is, you said, who is doing what, all right? And
And is this a conflict?
Absolutely, and so, well, I want to address what appearances are and what those terms mean. And so let me back up. For LJ, we love working for the county. You've been a great client, we're thankful for, we can be here today. And we can continue to serve you, we want to do that. So, but I can see you get a little confusing about half our business is working for public agencies like yourselves, cities, counties, state. About half our business is working for the private industry, okay? So we actually split our house, literally in that. Groups that work for public agencies do not work for developers. And the people who work for those do not work for public agencies. It just, the appearance is just operation that works in clarity. So we do that. But I get where appearances can happen. So let me give you the end of the story before I come back. If in your wisdom, if you decide just for whatever reason, we work for you, you set the policy, you set the rules. If you want LJA to no longer provide services for reviewing plans because of the fact we're doing work, we will gladly transition to your wishes. If you want us, second option, to continue to provide those services, but maybe by help assist in finding a third party reviewer. They can review our plans when ours come through, gladly do that. And if you want us to continue on, those are the 3 options. And we will do what you say. You're the boss, we work for that. But I do want to clarify something because these things are public meetings and now there's some rules and regulations a lot of people don't understand about engineering. We actually can't have a conflict by law. Okay, I don't know who the attorneys are here.
Right over here. Sidebar.
Okay, attorneys can understand, the Engineering Practices Act, and I'm giving you the engineering version, but we can't advocate Attorneys can advocate. And one of the reasons that the spirit of the rule is our ultimate client is not the county developer. We work for the citizens of the state of Texas for well-being. We deal with facts, finite decisions, finite equations, finite results. Regardless of who we work for. So the reason I know this, I worked for a firm years ago, got involved in a conflict of interest. We can't do that. So what we say to a developer, it has to be proven factual and finite, regardless who you're working for. So we all maintain professional licenses here. State takes very serious, and the firm maintains a license. So I just want to make it abundantly clear, if there is a conflict of interest, that's a very serious accusation you need to address. Okay, I am now in the court of public opinion, street corner, I get it. Okay, you're elected officials, I totally appreciate that. So we want, but let's be very, very clear, we can't have that conflict. And also, our ethics, we're not gonna lie.
Well, without questions, I wouldn't have got an explanation.
Yeah, absolutely. Very rarely do we get a chance to explain this. But again, I get the appearances. We were serving in this role to assist the county. If that is not what's the best interest of the county, we will wonderfully resign from that or help you anything in between. But you hear this when I have to give the speech routinely because we live in the age of one side versus the other side.
Oh, yeah.
And somewhere in that, in the engineering community, we've lost. We're not on the side. So I know this is long fix, one more second. So how does that apply to as we review, do that job? Our job is to review finite data. You have a specific criteria. We look at it. It's so different that if you asked us to measure a stick, you tell me how length it is. Our review standard is to look at that and measure that. We do not set policy. We do not advocate for change of policy. That rests in the power and responsibility of this court. And we know our rules. When we make a recommendation of no objection, we're telling you the measurement was right based on your standard. We are not taking away your purview to decide whether you make an exception for various reasons. That's why you have variances, right? So I want, and it's a great question. I'm glad. Where do we all fit in this? We're engineers. We're not that exciting. We just add numbers together and we like to keep it that way. So with that, I'll take any questions to this. I hope this brings clarity.
Anybody?
Me, I think you explained it quite well. Yeah.
Lee?
Okay, next.
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Oh, the attorney, okay.
Anybody has one, it's gonna be that, okay.
You probably do it a lot of stuff.
So you're good with it?
Well,
Turn your mic.
I didn't say that. And this is not about the underlying substance of the conflict, but the appearance isn't wrong.
Again.
And that's all I'm concerned. We want, I want these commissioners to be 100% confident in the advice that they all give. And then also the citizens to know that whenever they make tough calls, it's not for any other reason than public policy and policy.
Yeah. So I think moving forward, just for me offer up, why don't y'all have time to think about this, how you want, your advice, how you want us to operate. And again, like I said, we're going to take whatever you say, we're going to be happy about it. So we're here to serve you. We do a lot of different work for you. We're not jeopardizing that over our review services in business. Something just so okay. So you can decide to prove that. But I think in this case, as you review variances, it needs to be said out loud that those variances, given or not given, rest fully in your authority. You're elected for that. We will not get in any way. We're not advocating. We measured the thing and said yes or no, did it meet that?
And that makes it clear.
Yeah. it just takes the confusion out of it for the citizens and everybody. We need to stay in our place. We serve. We're a tool in the toolbox.
I put this behind the point too, so I don't believe, but put this, LGA service their contract is on the agenda today and informed. It's just the underlying questions of how these.
Right.
Right. I'll make one comment. We're perfectly happy with LJ's work. They've done a good job for us and we're happy with that. The appearance of this, one of the solutions you had was maybe have another company whenever they had to review your stuff. If, we probably would sometime need to look at that. I don't want to change engineering companies, but on those instances where there is a appearance of conflict, then we have somebody else to review your work
What we could do, we could help you advertise and bring people, evaluate folks to come in there. Because obviously, walking away immediately, that's
Yeah.
not you're relying on us, the extension side of thoughts. We don't want to leave you in large anyway, right?
No.
So maybe we'll bring some people to y'all, if you'd like that,
Yeah.
consider that. And maybe over a time of transition, which by the way, this typically happens when we're working out in areas that are being developed, usually because we're local people want us in there. Then at some point, for those reasons, they want to transition. This is very typical. We'll do it the best way. I just wanted to say.
But it's not any reflection on y'all.
Thank you.
It's just in the overall big picture of things, I think it's look better.
We will help with that. Yeah. All right, any other questions?
Good.
I appreciate your remarks
Mhm.
that handled me and, the issue at all.
Thank you for finally giving me, we don't always get the chance to explain that stuff. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
We can talk about it.
All right, so if y'all recall the last meeting that we have a variance that we put for you guys.
If you would introduce yourselves.
Yeah, say your name.
Michael Russ with our Land Development Division at LJ. This is Hayden Rice, who's also going to be working on the project. Okay. And this is regarding the Sterling Traditions project that was as was on the agenda. So the variance that's before you, and it's the same variance on 3 different sections, section 1, 2, and 3. It revolves around the cul-de-sacs, the diameter of both the right of way and the pavement section. If you recall at the last meeting, we talked a little bit. One of the things that y'all had asked for is for us to kind of draw this up from a fire truck perspective, fire access, to show that there would be adequate space for a fire truck to turn around. So we got an exhibit here. A couple things I want to point out on. This is actually on an aerial photo of River Ranch, which is in Liberty County. It is built per the exact variance that we're requesting. So, what you see on here is kind of a real world situation of what we're asking. And so you can notice on here, the fire truck we chose is exactly the same fire truck that y'all have. And what it does is it shows two lines on here. It may be kind of hard to see, and I apologize for that. If y'all want to get a little bit closer, we can. But it's got a wheel path, but it's also got the outer dimensions of the actual fire truck itself, because there's a little bit of overhang in the front as well as the back. So as you can see on here, the red and green lines you see show that it makes, around that cul-de-sac without any particular issue going around there. It stays inside the pavement radius, no problem. Coincidentally, there's another cul-de-sac that we can show you on here that actually has a car parked out in the cul-de-sac, which I know was a concern. Can it still make that turn if there is a car parked there? So we ran the same analysis with the same vehicle. The only difference is that there is a little bit of overhang on the front of the truck that does go outside the pavement section itself, but the tire itself stays wholly within the pavement and they can turn around without any backup movement or anything of that nature. So those were the 2 options that y'all had asked for that we wanted to make sure and bring to you guys today. The other thing I wanted to point out on this third exhibit And this is just more from a visual perspective for you guys to kind of notice. You've got the actual houses, and then we've got these green boxes that would be where a house would have to be located if it went to, the larger radius. What you can see there is, as you're driving down the street, as you start to hit that knuckle, or the cul-de-sac, that first house has to be pushed way back off the road because it's dealing with the bubble in the road and the appropriate building line. So you have houses on both sides of the street that are almost lining up with the backyard of the adjacent street to them. So it becomes a real, you've got somebody who's almost looking at their neighbor's side yard, out in front of their house because it gets pushed back so far. And this is relatively common, and throughout the development community, what's happened is this has come up way before. This has come up a lot of times, okay? The compromise has been the 50-foot diameter radius with the pavement section, and then the reduction of the building line on just the cul-de-sac so that you're still gonna have that bubble you have to deal with, but it keeps the house from being pushed back so far, as you can see on the existing homes that are in this.
This is the difference between curb and gutter and open ditch.
Correct. What you're looking at is what would be. Yes, sir.
Okay, the red line that's what you're proposing?
The red line, or, sorry.
No, the red line is, that's what the standard is.
This is what we're
Right now.
proposing.
That's how far back it gets pushed.
The purple would be the pavement, the
Okay,
pink would be the right of way. And the blue is the building line.
no,
And then,
okay, that's the bill, that's the way it is now.
so this is what we're proposing, this is what it is now.
That's what it would be.
Same colors are the
now.
same pavement, right of way, and building line.
And this is River,
This is River Ranch. Yes, sir.
River Ranch, I believe, is in the ETJ of Dayton, Texas, and they approved. Or just.
yeah, we didn't approve but what size are the lots here?
So
So
this
in
particular
case,
section,
I believe these are 40-foot lots in width. Depth is typical 100 and.
I thought they were wider than that.
I believe these ones in particular, this section,
and
I think this one might be
they have
50s.
a very variable lot size. They have as large as 60s. I think they go down as small as 40s. This particular aerial, just because we were looking for one with a cul-de-sac that we could, do these exhibits on, I believe these particular lots are actually 40s. But to be clear, the pavement section and the right-of-way width would be the same, whether it's a 40-foot lot or a 60-foot lot or whatever it may be. So the turning radius for fire trucks, things of that nature would be the same in all cases. It's just a matter of where the particular lot line would fall. So, and I guess the last. Okay. Yes, so the other thing that I wanted to kind of show on this exhibit, as you can see, is you see the back of the lots here. See how they have to bubble out to handle this larger radius that you see on. That's kind of a domino effect. What it ends up doing is when you have a row of lots or a street and then you get to a cul-de-sac, it bubbles out, right? So you can imagine as you're doing land planning for that, you end up with some very odd shapes. You get very inefficient when you have multiple cul-de-sacs. So what it results in is we don't really want to do a lot of cul-de-sacs because you end up with a whole lot of dead space because you can't transition from a straight street to a cul-de-sac. So it results in the elimination of cul-de-sacs for the most part, which everybody knows if you're going to buy a house, everybody would prefer to live on a cul-de-sac, right? It's safer. Kids out in the street, you have much less traffic on there because the only people that go down that road are who's going to live on that street. So there's kind of residual effects to all of this. And I started earlier that this has come up way before, and the compromise within the planning development community has been the 50-foot radius with the reduced building line, because it kind of solves all those problems, but it doesn't get away from the safety factor from the fire truck access. So it's kind of the I would say the best of both worlds kind of have met together, and that's why it's something that is done in jurisdictions all over. And it's continued to be done. You can imagine if this didn't work, and this has been in place in city of Houston or Bankstown or any of those for 20, 30, 50 years, and they were having problems with it, they would have gotten rid of it, and it still would not be a relatively, universal standard throughout. So that's what I wanted to try to illustrate with these exhibits today, to try to answer those questions that you guys had about the functionality and is it going to perform as you need it to from emergency services perspective.
Nathan or Dharma, waiting on this, please.
One more thing, sure.
This line right here is a 70 foot. This is 50.
Yeah, but
I
haven't seen the pictures yet.
I don't, yeah.
They show one car. I'm envisioning two cars in front of every house because they'll have to be. And that's my vision of that cul-de-sac.
This would be
Fire
the
truck is
proposed
called.
condition. And this would be the condition that's currently in the regulations.
Okay, I can't talk about the setback, but as far as the radius on the cul-de-sacs, NFPA standard is 50-foot radius as a minimum. So that does meet the minimum, requirements
So
of
you're-
NFPA.
So your experience in larger communities as you've been in, do you see, has this ever been a big problem for fire trucks or AV?
It's always gonna be a problem, because there's always gonna be somebody else on the street. I mean, there's nothing they can do to control that, nor can I really do that, because there's nothing that says they can't park there if they own the house.
Or the guidelines, that's.
As far as the guidelines, 50-foot radius is the minimum standard by NFPA standards.
How wide are the streets?
Go on, so.
The
26 foot, to the base of the curb, but these will have mountable curbs. It'll be 28.
You know, earlier this year, we heard of Montgomery County having problems getting their fire trucks down with the street widths, and I think they went for
24%.
They had 24, okay, I wanted to make sure, because that was in the news.
And to point out that,
Well,
the
house
street width, I think is where you're gonna have potential,
The house, so
that's where you're.
where the houses are,
More of a possibility, obviously, there's so much
it
more.
matches the conditions
People park on
that,
the street, the cul-de-sacs,
yeah, like where you see
the
the
pavement's
actual
actually wider.
photograph
The issue
of the
that
house.
you would have is not necessarily gonna be on the.
that
cul-de-sac.
same driveway length would still be accurate. If that makes sense.
We're
Is
trying to
this
figure out,
the
yeah, this actual street from T.
There's a building line there. There's
Building line,
Like a distance.
right of way, public right of way.
Wow, these are 40, 1, 2, 3, 4.
100 feet.
Where do you want to move this plan up?
So where the aerial image, we just want to do the aerial image, we want to match the aerial image. Does that make sense?
This match this right here.
So,
Don't move the house back that line.
no,
This is,
well,
we wanna do what's there. This is what your standard.
this is what we want to do. If we follow the current standard, we'd have to move it back.
There's fire SUVs down there in the way too. But you have a cul-de-sac to the park, and you got, like that here with volunteers. You have 6 volunteers with one guy on the fire truck.
Condition of your neighbors, your footprint. And you don't have this person's backyard in your front yard.
One thing I did think you don't show the door is 57th Street problem. Paint curbs.
Tell me where you want the building line to be.
So we would like it to be where this blue line is. With this,
No,
yeah, the light blue.
and that would be the sit what you do, you put line.
If you would be the pink line,
Yeah,
it would be the right of way. This would be the
20 foot.
The area that you're talking.
Effectively, we would like to match the aerial condition that this development has. Whereas if we followed the current criteria, we would have to push our lot back. Similar to what's shown on this.
These lots are up, I was thinking bigger than 40-foot lots.
40 by 80 foot.
Yeah.
40
Oh,
by 80.
40 by 80 foot.
Yeah, that green patch, green patch. Okay,
If they're,
there,
yeah,
there.
40 by 80.
You're proposing the same deal on 40-foot lots, not 80-foot lots.
You're proposing the same deal on a wide variety of lot and either
Subdivision standards.
That's the thing, you know, I mean, that's the house there, that's a 40-foot house, the lot's a 50.
Right.
You're talking about now, they've come down to a 40-foot lot.
Well, that picture's representative of a 40-foot lot.
No,
Well,
it's
sorry.
representative of a 40-foot house.
Yeah.
Well, I meant, yeah,
This is just
Green
one,
itself is.
one scenario that's out there.
But the lots are a little bit bigger than that.
Correct. The lot is on deed.
Yeah, it's 50, but if you can trim the lot down, then this is gonna shrink the house too.
Typically, yeah.
Well, you're not gonna be able to put a 40 by 80 foot
But house,
footprint there either. It's going to be a lot smaller, 30 by 80 or whatever.
But as far as the pavement width, the right of way and the setback, the scenario is the same in all lot types, whether it's a 40-foot lot or a 60-foot, we're requesting just like, it's the same on all of them. So the distance from the pavement edge to the front of the house, which is where you would park your driveway, whether it's a 40-foot lot or a 60-foot lot, same dimensions, so you'd still be able to get 2 cars in the driveway without being in the garage. You know, you can park in the garage from host to, some host don't. But that would be the scenario in all lot sizes.
yeah, and then we got the other one up there in Tarpon, and then I don't like, I really don't like the 40, but. Got somebody, we'll change that next week. Huh?
What are you changing next week?
Well, I'm gonna propose we change the lot size back to 50 foot, what we thought we had to start with.
In your ordinance?
Yeah. It just, I don't know, when you got that small house, what kind of subdivision you gonna have, what kind of houses, what kind of house? Right.
It would be, I mean, it would be a mix, and there's still gonna be, single family detached units, they'll just be smaller, and the issue is the
Yes.
Drew Pelter, Sterling Traditions Development. To answer your question specifically, we have lots that are 60, 50, 40, and 31. Depending on the neighborhoods and the location of that tract of land. That's the same land plan that you all saw for your development. Set and put. Is all those lot depictions or not.
31 foot lots.
In fact, hey, that might be better if you just hold it for you and they look at the screen.
Ain't seen it. Matthew?
Yes.
Do we have a minimum lot size in our subdivision? I didn't think we had any.
There may be, or there isn't, there isn't, but I can tell you this.
We don't have any minimum lot size, you can build any size.
No, sir.
I thought we wrote these things that we had.
In your subdivision development criteria, my understanding is there is a statement that comes across as a minimum lot should be within reason or something along those lines, but there's no definitive number. The only place that ever talks about minimum lot size is an exclusion category, or if a family is subdividing a family tract or a close family. It does state that if you are not creating new streets and you're tying into an existing street, the minimum for a family subdivision is a 50-foot frontage. But that is, very specific on that. And if the lots are larger than 10 acres, a minimum frontage is 100 feet. And those are specifically called out for flag lots. You don't want to have a big tract where you got this skinny driveway that goes to the back and then the front has got frontage. But that's the familial split. There is no criteria and there's no specific definitive criteria. The only limitations are, as you said, driveway spacing is, I think, minimum 25 feet apart. And the cul-de-sac radius currently is 50-foot pavement, 70-foot right of way. But again, it doesn't have the definition between the gutter roadside ditch. But no, there is no
Okay, thank you.
specific number.
Y'all should be aware, under state law, we cannot regulate correctly this, lot size, this density. But indirectly, we can for some of those, you know, they're obvious, public safety concern, right of ways to. That's what.
And I'm Rich Miller, we're the attorneys for the developer. I just want to remind everybody that what we did with the development, we agreed to a land plan that actually is a lot less dense than we could have, like even with all 50 lots. So the trade-off was we did 500 fewer lots, 500 fewer lots with the mix of product type. That if we'd done all 50s, it would have been 500 more lots than we have here. So, you know, that was kind of the trade-off. And I think our average ends up being back at 50. So we've got a mix of lot sizes, but we got back to roughly an average of 50, and it's still way less dense than if we'd have done all 50 to grid it out. That's what, so that was the compromise we negotiated with.
As the elder statesman of our organization, I feel honored now to speak up, and God, my ego hurts to say that. But you're old, and I'm old. My whole career, I've had some of the best developers in the country be my mentors, so it's interesting to now be the other guy. But I think what we missed out on as Sterling tradition development with the county was the opportunity to give a dog and pony show from the very beginning to let you know what developers you're dealing with, as opposed to carpetbaggers that are flying at. And we can call that. So it's, but my latest project that we finished, I retired from about 5-6 years ago, Shadow Creek Ranch in Pearland, Texas. 3,500 acres, 8,500 lots. Every color that you see on that board represents a different lot size. And the trick to land development, and like I said, I have overseen and developed over 25,000 lots in our country, about 5 different cities. Texas is my home and has been for 25 years, and I am a proud sticker owner of, I wasn't born here, but I got here as fast as I could. So this was my latest. You see the different lot sizes. Art, and it is truly an art. The engineers do the science, but the art of being a good land developer and a good partner with the cities and the counties is to develop a community, not just a housing development, to develop a community that offers something for everybody. So we aren't in the game of saying 40-foot lots are making the most money and they're the hottest topic right now, so let's just build 40-footers, or let's do 70-foot lots because we want executive style homes. Those have been proven not to work. And the only thing I can use as an example is Friendswood is a very large lot community, but they have no amenities. So all the reasons that everybody buys into a community is they want the restaurants, they want the HEBs, they want all of those things. If you have big lots, you have no support staff to work in all the amenities that you want to offer, no apartments, no smaller homes, no senior living, no, where those people that typically work in the dry cleaning, the restaurant, the pizza place, those people need places to live. And if you don't provide it for them, especially in a county that's as large as Liberty, where are they going to come from? So that you don't get the amenities. The only reason it works for Friendswood is they are a landlocked city that relies on fair land, the city, and so on. So they can have those commercials. So that's not the world that we live in up here. We are in the middle of suburbia and it's 10 miles down the road. I mean, I bet you everybody in this room once a week, every other week makes a journey to go to the Costco 15 miles down the road or 10 miles down the road. It's a common event for everybody in this room. So anti-growth keeps those distances. If you want to keep going 12, 15 miles to Costco, then you kind of lock down your cities and just don't plan on a restaurant, no Perry Steakhouse, no HEBs and the likes. So what I'd like to say about going back to the park, Shadow Creek Parkway was similar to Sterling Traditions. 288 is the equivalent of, not the equivalent, but let's just say in scale, this is our 146. We went all the way west of 521, which is a major thoroughfare through South Houston. This is our 1409. We gave cut through. There was never a way for police fire to get from here to here down Broadway 518. We did this section for them. You start with the high use things that nobody wants in their backyard, commercials, hospitals. Those are all on the outskirts of the main project. Then as you work your way in, then you have multifamily, then you have small lots. Then as you get into the heart where it's quieter, smaller streets, you start getting into your large lots, bigger, lakefront views, things like that. But when we got over here by the landfill, this is a big landfill, BFI, back in the day. You can see that all these yellows were our smallest lots, these yellow and browns. Why are they over here? Because nobody wants a landfill in their backyard. So this is why you have to pick and choose and make decisions for people on the art of, okay, is the person that's going to spend $600,000 on their home or $1 million on their home going to put a landfill in their backyard? Or is it going to be the person that's their first home? They didn't get everything they want, but they're only spending $180,000. This was our layout, 8,500 lots, 35,000 people call this home now. It was the fastest selling community in the country about 5 years running. It has won awards in the country. It has set records from development that will never be broken again. And I'm proud of that because I was in charge of construction. We did 3,450 approved lots in one calendar year. That's 4 times the size of Sterling Tradition one calendar year. That will never be topped again. So this, and then the success of what this project meant to Pearland, to Story County, small bit of Fort Bend County. This zone, which was our TUR zone that you see colored, when we came to town and assembled this property, was on the tax rules for $7 million. It's over $4 billion today. Now, in your mind, use your county tax rate and think about in '98, we started assembling, and I walked away from this project in about 2017. So in 20 years, we went from 7 million to 4 billion. That is a lot of value for everybody, school districts, the county, cities. So it is something we're very proud of. Now, how does that relate to me and my partner, Bill? We met 25 years ago in Pearland. I spent my whole career building master plan communities, as Will has for the last 15 years. I have too big of a name. I have too many mentors that have taught me the right way and the wrong way. That we are going to build I don't want to be derogatory to trailer parks, but I haven't come this far to build a trailer park in Dayton, Texas. This is my calling card. When Will came to me to look at Dayton and said, this is what I want to do. I know what it works. I know it works. Why reinvent the wheel when you know what works? I said, we're going to get the band back together. We got LJ, somebody, LJ is down there somewhere. So they were that. LJ was the people at LJ were the land planners. So I got the band back together to do the same project. Same cul-de-sacs, same design, same art, same care and taking of where to put things. So why do we care and where we put things? First time grid. My little grid. Just
Have you run into other counties that had these 7-foot cul-de-sacs like we have in our rules and regulations? Or is this kind of unheard of?
the 70. Modern day.
Most counties have two different standards, one for curb and gutter and one for, open ditch. That's why we also consider get that exactly second, whatever that we
Yeah. So modern development, we don't do roadside ditches unless you're in the rural areas and you're going for acreage, 3-acre lots with a roadside ditch. People are used to seeing that. They tried it in Sienna, which was Shadow Creek's neighboring master plan community. It was a disaster. And they went to curb and gutter immediately after one section. I only show this to you for, and then the fire marshal as well. This is the developer's dream. If you were only concerned about one thing, making money, selling things.
Engineer stream too.
And an engineer street, right? It's square, it's 90 degrees, there's less concrete. Drawings, land planners like to go around and curve fat pencils. That costs money, concrete costs money, so the straightest way to get from A to B is straight, not curvy like.
When you have
This
drawing of Sterling tradition as y'all want it, not as.
This is Sterling tradition, this is our layout, but this could be our land plan. Our detention would be rectangular, our streets would be straight, you see these are all within, this is your requirements, if we were to build to your requirements. Theoretically, this is what you could have. Now, my thing to the fire chief would be, except for this giant cul-de-sac here, this is just straight streets. No fire truck issues. But how many people in this room and your constituents want to live on a racetrack where everybody's going up and down with no natural speed breaks, no cul-de-sacs where you have a limited amount of houses that prevent even just traffic flow? We talk about, yes, there's going to be cars. We can play the what if game a lot. So if we're going to go down there's going to be cars on the street and what if it's rainy or sunny or whatever. Take a look at this and tell me how many kids are going to be playing with the soccer ball or a football and sending it away from them and go out into the street where now the traffic is going twice as fast as it would be on cul-de-sac. So there's a give and a take that yes, we can play the what if games with cars and streets, but I can play just as many what if games on how dangerous that plan is going to be. That plan gives me 500 more lots. And they are exactly what the county specs want. But I don't think.
That's the map that you're proposing.
Yes, sir.
Right.
This is our map.
Not take one.
So it's,
And this is what was in the.
that's what's
CAR.
approved. This is what's approved. This is in our development agreement.
And where would these cul-de-sacs be on this?
They're mixed in, on your. This shows kind of the first phase.
First, what we were just looking at.
So this is phase one as this gets passed down, or maybe we can put it up on the camera. This is our first phase of plats of our land plan, the colors, same thing, the colors depict lot sizes. The 31-foot lots are by sewer treatment plant. Not the 50-foot lots.
Yeah, they're in
50-foot lots. So that's just the way it's wisely developed is the larger.
the quieter areas that they get in communities if you have one. And those smaller ones, and that's why we all, you know, we didn't start out in $1 million mansion. Right?
Coming out of date, coming out of date. This is 1409.
Oh, here we go.
Okay.
So this is what we are
This
in
is
Liberty
dark
County for approval of.
Yes.
these plans.
I think this is, was just.
There are one,
This. And.
I can't see. Five short cul-de-sacs and not long.
There's also another
And
one.
how many homes? So in this phase of your appraisal plan.
Oh, I know where it's all. This is part of River Ranch. It's all the way down here.
Like I said, 500 plants that get tractors back.
Okay.
It, with nobody wrong.
Plants down.
And I'm not doing it, but my income, something like that.
Well, I'd prefer to see creativity and consideration of the gradient.
And the reason, and I know I touched on it, but the reason that we do 31-foot lots, 40, 45, 50, 60.
No, there was an ETJ.
Is to give, and we have a multi-family section possibly, I mean, it's, I don't know that there's a use out there, but it's way out, it's right next to 146 where it belongs, right, where the traffic is. But we want to build a community that offers something for all income brackets, all families, whether it's a widower that needs a 31-foot lot because they don't want to mow the lawn anymore. Or it's a family that's
This is an
been promoted in Baytown and they want to get the smokestacks out of their, they have 3 kids, they got another one on the way. And they want to get the smokestack out of their backyard and then can come up to a much better school district and be part of a better community. Those are the people that are going to be buying the big lots. So what we set out to do, and there's lots of examples, if you go too small and just too small, it doesn't sell. You go too big, it doesn't sell. You have to provide, developers are market-driven businessmen. The market tells us where to go. And it's our job to make something for everybody, to give that sense of community. And then that also is reflected by having a rec center, having HOA restrictions and rules to keep this looking exactly the way I want it to look.
Now, as far as emergency services go, I know the nearest fire department, since you are no longer in the ETJ of Dayton, would be off 1409, would be the ESP number 5.
3.
3, okay, number 3. So until y'all actually make the road from 1409 into your subdivision, you're kind of locked as far as any emergency services, as far as fire and stuff like that. That doesn't come out of Dayton. Have y'all done anything to address that or have put that into plan?
Yeah, we've had conversations with Dayton. I mean, River Ranch is 6,000 acres.
I want you to have the same problem.
Which they're a mile down the road further. We are both working, they all think developers are competing. I look at this completely different. Shadow Creek Ranch, 35,000 people calling it home. I was the 900-pound gorilla. I had all these little teeny pearland developments around me that were catching the wave. But I was the one that was doing the billboards, the town and the Astros games and the so on. I look at this as now I'm the little guy compared to the 900-pound gorilla. I couldn't be happier. That's the more development. I don't look at it as competition. It's advertising, it's marketing, it's getting people to come up and see Dayton and Liberty County and to say, we could call this home. And I got enough faith in the building lineup. I have 5 top 50 builders, 4 top 20. They have a quality product. We haven't let this, I totally won't say names, but we all can do some. I haven't let the production cardboard builders into our lot, into our things. We won't sell them lots because that's not the avenue we want to go down. So I'm confident in our builders that if River Ranch can bring 10 cars up a week, one will probably fall in love with this one.
As I have y'all looked at the emergency services to that, because I mean, I have asked River Ranch the same questions I'm asking y'all. When are y'all finally one of y'all gonna punch a road down 1409 to let these services in? How far down the road is this going to be?
Well, this is a whole bunch of concrete and River Ranch has about a 2.5 year head start on us. But it is one of the things that I'm sure everybody, and we're excited to give this to. And as I'm sure the fire marshal is and the people of Dayton that need to cut across, whether it's gonna be us or River Ranch, I don't know. We've actually, my partner Will has had conversations with the EMS on possibly having substations out here on our, what I call the panhandle. This is commercial and detention. So I don't want to be in the boondocks where my people can't get service or get police.
So
or get
you're
fire.
willing to listen to a concession of having a substation for ESD at the front of your.
We are absolutely willing to listen to everything. And when I was showing you the Broadway, I'm kind of same thing. The south end of my Shadow Creek project was Broadway 518. You can picture that old map. I only had to build it halfway to about here. The Pearland City Council came to us and said, man, we would really like to get it out to 521. Can we do something? So Pearland had money available and I built it for them free of charge. I mean, I oversaw it free of charge. I approved the bills. And if you're ever in the area, I invite you to take a look at this. It's another little fun bragging point I have. Go down 518 from Kingsley, a mile and a half. I did 4 lanes, divided, fully landscaped, curb and gutter. I did it in a year and a half, and then Pearland Parkway is the exact same profile. I built mine, they're the same length, they're the same road design. I did mine a year and a half faster, and the landscape package is a night and day difference. It went over so well with the city, the council, trying to figure out a way to have me build roads for the city, just to get out of the minutia of it all. So these are things that if the county wants this put through and the county has some funds that they want to contribute to ours, we could accelerate this. You can imagine we have $74 million in the bank between TIF bonds, owners capital, and lenders to build the infrastructure of just what we're looking at here. And concrete being the most expensive thing in developments. To punch it from where we are bringing it in phase 1 to 1409 would be a big number.
Wouldn't be it.
But we're willing, if that's something that's important to the city and the county to accelerate, we're all ears.
Yeah, my name is Will Benton, with Sterling Divisions. So to answer your question, Mr. Fauci, remind me of the sheriff's name again. Right. Yes, sir. So we talked to him about providing services to the community, and I believe in our development agreement, we wrote him at the 1,000 lot sold or home sold, that we are contracting with the sheriff's office. And so part of that too, he said, hey, we would like to have some sort of a touchdown place or park a car, fill out a report, do those sorts of things. And so we've actually incorporated some of that into our community center, which is in this area right here. But we've also thrown out, hey, there's opportunity in some of the commercial parcels to set that up as well. So, and we're open to all sorts of EMS based fire sort of stuff. So the second part of your question was, what is our plan for getting that connectivity into the community, right? Because this is huge. And Sheriff was big time on that. Hey, let's make this service call come all the way around the horn and Main Street. And so, Hayden, can you show on the map about where our current construction, planning, and design is?
Sure. So currently, In design, we have up to about here under design. The road in our first phase is gonna go all the way up to here.
So that's about a mile.
Yeah, so.
It's about a mile. The entire kind of tip to stern is about 2 miles. So that's 50%. So I kind of handle a lot of the finance functions and lending and that sort of stuff for our organization. And so I'm already in talks to continue that road as a section 2 all the way across. So I can't quite commit to exactly time, but it is a very high priority.
Well, you've already addressed that and an alternative of even a place to park a fire truck or an ambulance, just in case. And that's all I'm asking for is, since there is no way except going through all the way through Dayton or all the way through Mount Bellevue to get to your subdivision, only an officer can get there a lot faster than a fire truck or an ambulance or something like that. Where, you know, and that's my biggest concern and issue that I have. Y'all answered those.
And that's good for the community as well. I think having that presence is good as well. And if that, and that's an easy thing. That's not a very hard, request. And we incorporated that into our development agreement back in November, right? Hey, we did that one. And so we didn't write in all the specific details, but those are, that's a big fill of this, and that should help, I don't know if that's the southern part of the county or something, you guys might refer to that as the south county or whatever. But
Southern, yeah.
It's southern.
But that would be at least an outpost in that area that would increase those response times. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been coming up on 46 and there's been some sort of an accident there. And just think about it from here to there, it's 34 minutes. This long power times. Anyway, I just wanted to answer those questions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much.
So with that, I can answer any questions from anybody. I really appreciate everybody in the audience, commissioners, judge, for giving me the moment to talk. I wish if I could have refound this tape a year ago, we would have been having this at lunches and coffees and let you get to know me and my partners and pick our brains and understand why we do what we do. I just felt it was important to kind of start from zero and bring it forward so you know who you're partnering with on this project.
In this depiction, where's your commercial reserve gonna be held?
So
in this,
so
is
in
this
this
your
picture,
commercial reserve out here?
yeah, the commercial reserve is
Just
this
really,
area,
towards 146.
and then this area on 1409.
Actually in the ETJ update text.
Yeah, those are with the city limits.
Yes.
So your other,
There's actually part of that's in the city limits.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
so your other depiction you had of the Indy 500 stretch,
That was all.
we can have that or we can have this. That's my point is this. Here you have curvilinear, there's some thought process, you have intimacy gradients that's considered in here. You know, with a living area in the middle, commercial reserve on the outside, you create basically a desirable place to live.
We'd like to think so, and we feel like this isn't my first rodeo by any stretch. And like I said, I was taught by some of the giants in the industry, Canarelli's and Collins Brothers.
Well, we've seen our share of the rectangular lots with a straight stretch and it hadn't really worked.
No, and we're not gonna be the developer that gives you a plywood rendering of a rec center that everybody gets to drive by and dream of the day that it's gonna be built. Now, will I open up a multi-million-dollar swimming pool with one resident? No. But it will be, 100 rooftops with their recs.
Okay. All right, y'all got any more questions?
Yeah, we're very limited. Mr. Chambers is just telling me that we're very limited on time, so we're on an hour and a half.
Yes.
We've got 9 minutes left.
This new meeting's gonna go off in 10 minutes. Better hurry.
We got 10 minutes.
You got 10 minutes to finish the agenda.
Okay.
I didn't know that they were gonna be doing the dog and pony show. I only gave you an hour and a half, so.
We good.
We're at
That's good.
1:20.
Good, we needed this.
We did need it.
Yes, we did.
We don't get it all. Reconvene it another day.
Sorry.
Okay,
So you're on number 4.
number 4. Okay, we have a consider approved certain conditions for various requests from section 1 as follows. 50-foot radius cul-de-sac, a minimum front building line of 20 feet for lots along the cul-de-sac. We have a letter of objection from LJ, it's attached. We've had adequate discussion. I'll just ask what the board's pleasure is at this point.
Before this meeting, I was really concerned with the cul-de-sac sizes and stuff, the way it's been explained to me and presentation that I have got on both LJA and Sterling Division. I make a motion to approve the variance. In part 2.
Got a motion from Bruce, second from David to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Likewise, nays. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Number 5. Consider and approve certain conditions, section 1 preliminary plat and drainage plan with the latest revision submitted. It appears the preliminary plat submittal meets the minimum requirements for Liberty County rules for subdivisions and development. Therefore, LJ Engineering is recommended for approval.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion from Bruce. Second from David. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Likewise, nays. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Number 6. Consider and approve Sterling Tradition Section 2, preliminary plat and preliminary drainage plan. The latest revision submitted appears that the preliminary plat middle meets the minimum requirements of the Liberty County rules for subdivisions and development. Therefore, LJ Engineering is recommended for approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second from David. Second from Bruce. Further discussion? Hearing none, call for vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Likewise, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Number 7, consider and approve Sterling Tradition Section 3, 2-part variance request. 50-foot radius on the cul-de-sac, minimum front building line of 20 feet for lots fronting along the cul-de-sac and knuckles. And again, we have the LJ Engineering letter of no objection with requesting the variance that's attached. Let's say the word.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion from Bruce. Second from David. Further discussion? Hearing none, call for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Likewise, nay. Motion carries. Number 8, consider and approve Sterling Tradition Section 3, preliminary plat and preliminary drainage plan with the latest revisions submitted. It appears the preliminary plat submittal meets the minimal requirements of the Liberty County rules, subdivisions and development. Therefore, LJ Engineering is recommended for approval.
Second.
Motion from David. Second from Bruce. Any
I
further
do want to
discussion?
state for the record that without this workshop, little meeting and the explanation of a lot of this, I don't believe this would have happened.
That's true. Hearing no further discussion, call for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Likewise, nays. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Number 9 from Commissioner Karbowski, consider and approve a notice of non-renewal of the current lease agreement between Liberty County, Texas and Mark Warfield for 310 Main Street, Liberty, Texas 77575. I understand that the occupants of that location are moving.
Yes, it's, our lease is up August 31st. We have to give a 60-day notice, and once we are, just for the auditor's office that will be moving over to the new Carver building.
Okay, Dwayne, they're pretty confident they'd get moved.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion from Greg,
I'll second.
second from Gerald. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Likewise, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Number 10. Commissioner Clark to approve payment from Energy Texas Incorporated for the sum of $18,973.85 for road damage in precinct 4 due to the following project. It was a project that damaged the property roads for the Tarkington Long John project, C6PPL TH990. Gerald, you want to enlighten us a little bit about this project?
About a 3-month process working with Energy's contractors. It's kind of like that one liability lawyer commercial on TV, denied. Well, it took about, again, 3 months. But Energy has agreed to pay us that sum, nearly $19,000 to repair some of those county roads. They have another project coming a little bit later in the year. It'll start the next phase. This is a huge pole replacement. They're upgrades going to the metal things. You guys get it, but a lot of the mat trucks.
Yep.
Some damage, not significant, as you can see by the amount. But if we'll approve this now, we'll release them of any other liability on the roads, and they'll cut us a check for this amount.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Motion from Bruce. Second, David. Any further discussion? Matthew, you got anything on that one? Catherine, everybody good? All right, hearing none, call for vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Likewise, nays. That motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Make a motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion from Bruce. Second from David. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
28, very good.